Should you buy the 2027 Kia Seltos? That's what we're going to find out. Welcome to Car Help Corner, and today I'm reviewing the new Seltos, which Kia has completely redesigned for 2027. We have a new exterior and interior design with new technology. It's larger than before and now offers 3 different engine options. And after now having spent some time with it, I have to say, although it does have some attractive qualities, I do have a few serious concerns that might make you think twice before buying one. So let's get right into the review, starting things off with the different engine options. So as mentioned, the new Seltos gives you 3 different powertrains to choose from, 2 regular gas engines and a new hybrid option. Let's start with the regular gas engines. The base engine is a 2-liter naturally aspirated 4-cylinder that comes matched to a CVT, continuously variable transmission, and you have a choice of either front-wheel or all-wheel drive. This is the engine that comes standard on most trim levels, and it's the one that I've been test driving. And this is where I have the first problem with the Seltos, because all things considered, this just isn't a very compelling powertrain. It only makes 147 horsepower, which is not very much for a vehicle of this size and weight, especially when you load it up with passengers and a lot of cargo, at which point it feels quite slow. Now, it's okay if you're just driving it normally in stop-and-go traffic, but put your foot into it when you're trying to merge onto the highway, and it really just makes a lot of noise and not much else. And not only is it underpowered, but the fuel economy is pretty unremarkable. It's able to get a combined 28 miles per gallon, or just under 9 liters per 100 kilometers, which is not terrible, but not the best either. And then we have the biggest issue with this powertrain, which is the reliability baggage that it comes with. Kia has a very troubled history with its 2-liter 4-cylinder engine. The first generation Seltos had very severe engine problems. It was recalled multiple times for piston ring failure, which basically means complete engine failure. And these recalls were tied to an earlier string of recalls with Kia and Hyundai's 2-liter and 2.4-liter 4-cylinder engines, which suffered from severe oil consumption, engine failures, and even engine fires. Millions and millions of these vehicles were recalled over a period of 10 years. And the Kia Seltos was the last vehicle to be affected by these problems. Now, the good news is that the engine that's in this new generation Seltos is not exactly the same 2-liter engine. Thankfully, Kia did switch over to their newer Smart Stream engine family that they introduced a few years back. And so far, the Smart Stream engines have been proving to be a lot more reliable. But even so, given how recently the reliability issues were with this vehicle, I still wouldn't feel totally comfortable recommending it, not until more time has passed and we know for sure that the problems have been fully resolved. So at this point, you might be saying, well, what about the optional engine that's offered on the higher trims? So if you go for one of the higher trims, you get a 1.6-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder engine with an 8-speed automatic transmission and standard all-wheel drive. Now, this could be a potentially better option because Kia does have a better track record with its 1.6-liter engines. And because this engine is turbocharged, it makes 190 horsepower. So it is significantly more powerful, and that does make quite a difference to the way it drives. And having that 8-speed automatic is also a nice upgrade because it is noticeably nicer than the CVT that you get on the base engine. But unfortunately, going with this powertrain has its own trade-offs. For one thing, you can only get this powertrain on the most expensive top trims, the X-Line version. So you do have to spend quite a bit of money in order to get it. The fuel economy is also not as good. It's only rated at a combined 26 miles per gallon, or 9 liters per 100 kilometers. So you do take a hit there. And then we have the third problem, which is the fact that it is turbocharged, which adds complexity to the engine, meaning more repair concerns in the long run, which is something that buyers in this segment really don't want to deal with. So, given the choice, it does seem to still make more sense to go with the base engine, given that it is the newer SmartStream engine, which is much safer. But either way, you are dealing with potential trade-offs, which brings us to the third engine option, which is the brand new hybrid system. So for the first time, the Seltos can now be purchased as a hybrid using an updated hybrid system found on the Kia Niro. Now, this is a very good thing because the Kia Niro has been around since 2017, and it has proven to have a very good hybrid system that has a pretty solid track record when it comes to reliability. This hybrid system uses a 1.6-liter naturally aspirated four-cylinder engine, so there's no turbos. That's a very good thing. And it comes paired to two electric motors with a 6-speed dual-clutch transmission. Front-wheel drive is standard with the hybrid, but there is an optional all-wheel drive system, which adds a third electric motor that powers the back wheels, giving you an e-axle similar to what Toyota uses on its hybrids. With front-wheel drive, you get 155 horsepower, and with all-wheel drive, thanks to the power of the extra electric motor, you get 180 horsepower. Now, at the time of this recording, official fuel economy numbers for the hybrid were not available yet. But if we look at the fuel economy of the Niro, we should have some idea. That vehicle is rated close to 50 miles per gallon, or just under 4.5 liters per 100 kilometers. So if the Seltos is able to get anywhere close to that, well, that's pretty impressive. So potentially what we have here is incredible fuel economy, more power over the base engine, and hopefully the same reliability as the Niro, all for an extra $1,500 to $2,000 more than the equivalent gas engine. Well, that's a pretty attractive combination. So moving away from the powertrains, what exactly is the redesigned Seltos like to drive? Well, I have to say it's pretty unremarkable, which is not necessarily a bad thing. It has pretty good ride comfort. The suspension is able to absorb the bumps fairly well. The interior is pretty quiet, at least below highway speeds. And the ride and handling are perfectly fine for a vehicle like this. Interestingly, for some reason, the base engine models come with a very basic torsion beam rear suspension. And if you go for the turbo engine version, you get a more sophisticated multi-link rear suspension, which is supposed to improve the handling a little bit. But either way, this is a pretty unremarkable vehicle to drive. Nothing bad, but nothing super great either. But as a city vehicle for just getting around in, it is perfectly fine. And it does have a rather impressive interior for the most part. Now, this is where Kia generally shines because they are very good when it comes to their technology and giving you a lot of features for the money. The highlight of this interior is definitely the infotainment system. We have this dual screen setup, so you have a digital driver display and a touchscreen infotainment system, which has a very good user interface. It has excellent looking graphics, it's very snappy and responsive, and really, this is what Kia does better than just about any other car company. And what's nice is that you have wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto even on the base model. And on top of the excellent infotainment, we have a very nice control setup with proper physical controls, real buttons for adjusting your sound system, your climate settings, and you have plenty of connectivity options too. And even though it is a very plasticky, basic interior, the build quality is surprisingly good. And Kia did try to spice it up a little bit by giving you some nice two-tone color combinations, even on the lower trims. Now, in terms of interior space, the Seltos is on the larger end of this segment of small subcompact crossovers, which means you do get a pretty generous amount of space in both the front seats and the rear seats where adults can actually sit relatively comfortably. The cargo area is a decent size. Of course, you can fold the back seats flat, and underneath the cargo floor, you do get a compact spare tire, which is great to see. After testing this vehicle, I can really see why a lot of buyers would be drawn to the Seltos, especially with all the fancy available features and the technology. But I'm afraid a lot of that really does fall apart when you get into the pricing. Because unfortunately, the new Seltos is significantly more expensive than the first generation. The pricing now ranges between 27,000 to 35,000 in the US. And in Canada, the pricing ranges between 31,000 to 44,000 Canadian, which is around $2,000 to $3,000 more expensive than the previous generation trim for trim. The turbo engine is only available on the top of the line X-Line trims, and the hybrid should cost around $1,500 to $2,000 more than the equivalent gas engine. In the past, Kia was considered a value buy, a vehicle that gives you a lot more for your money at a lower price versus the rivals. But unfortunately, that's just not the case anymore. This new Seltos is just as expensive as its direct rivals. For the exact same amount of money, you could buy a Toyota Corolla Cross, a Subaru Crosstrek, or a Mazda CX-30. And I'm sorry, but if I'm not saving any money, I just can't think of a compelling enough reason to go for the Seltos over its much better rivals, because all of those vehicles just offer better value for money. They have much better reputations when it comes to reliability, longevity, low cost of ownership and repairs. And because of that superior reliability, they're all going to give you much better resale value too. So from a strictly rational financial point of view, any of them just make more sense to buy. And although they might not be quite as fancy as what you get in the Seltos, yes, the Corolla Cross is a very basic vehicle by comparison, as is the Crosstrek. The Mazda CX-30 is a different story. I would argue that that vehicle is just as premium, just as nice, if not nicer, than the Seltos, with a much better, more powerful powertrain. But regardless, even if the Seltos gives you more features for the money, fancier technology, fancier screens, all of that stuff really fades into the background over time after a few months of owning it. And at that point, you just want to have a well-made, long-lasting, reliable vehicle that works. And while you can certainly say you get that with those other vehicles, I'm not fully convinced that you're going to get the same experience with the Seltos. Not with its baggage, with its background when it comes to reliability. More time is needed to see whether it's improved or not. And at this point in time, really the only version of the Seltos that I think makes any kind of a compelling argument to buy is the Seltos Hybrid, which does have a lot of attractive qualities and benefits that you don't get in rivals. And if you can get a good deal on one, that one actually can make somewhat of a case for itself. In fact, I think the Seltos Hybrid has the potential to be such a hit that Kia is probably just going to discontinue the Niro because it's just going to be an older, more redundant model. Well, time will tell. So that's my review of the new Kia Seltos. So if you enjoyed and got value out of this video, make sure to like, subscribe, hit the hype button, and if you're planning to purchase a vehicle and live in Ontario, know that OMVIC is the vehicle sales regulator responsible for administering and enforcing the rules that dealers must follow. To learn more about your consumer protection rights, visit omvic.ca, and if you need any additional car buying advice, recommendations, or help with getting a great deal on your next new car purchase, make sure to visit carhelpcan.com. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.